using those losses to help him in his own taxes. So at a sort of a basic level, sort of the premise of the president coming under assault from these things. The second thing is just the amount of money that he's taken from foreign governments, and that money, whether it came from the Philippines or from Turkey, is greater than the amount of money that he's taken, say, from his salary as president. So taking more money from foreign countries than he's taking from his own country as president. And there's a reason why, in whether it's the counterintelligence world or whether it is just the sort of business ethics world or traditional way that people in the government are supposed to function, that you don't want people in government taking so much money from foreign countries, and sort of the influence that can have on someone. That gets to the third and probably most important part of the story, and that's the vulnerable position the president finds himself in financially. He has this, $70-80 million or so dispute with the IRS about whether he's going to have to pay back this money that he took as a refund from them, a refund that some would say is questionable. And he still has this dispute with the IRS. Remember, he's the president. He can control who's in charge of the IRS. It's not entirely clear to me how that would be resolved, but he could be on the hook for that. And at the same time that he's on the hook for that, he looks like he's on the hook for $400 million in loans that it's not really clear how he would pay those back either. So this entire picture, the president is moving himself as a businessman in towards a very vulnerable place where his own IRS could come calling for a lot of money that he may not have.
Yeah, and Jonathan Lemire, that's obviously what a lot of people have been investigating through the years. Is he perhaps as kind as he is to Vladimir Putin, as deferential as he is to Vladimir Putin, kowtowing in the presence of Vladimir Putin in Helsinki after, for instance, when you asked him the question that you asked him and he bowed and scraped in front of Vladimir Putin, why is he acting the way he is toward Turkey? Why is he acting the way he is toward the Philippines? We're actually seeing now that, yes, he's getting more money from countries like Turkey and the Philippines than he is from the American people in his salary. But you've been looking at this for years. You've been studying it for years. What's your takeaway from the reporting that you've read over the past 24 hours?
Well, I think Michael hit on a number of the key points, but to zero in on that last one about the idea of the foreign investment, if you will, in President Trump, that is why so many Democrats last night in their initial reaction to this story were framing it as a national security matter, a national security threat. Though the story does not indicate, it says that at least so far, the tax returns don't show any further unknown investment from Russia. Certainly, we are seeing the influence of foreign governments here in terms of the money involved with the president. And is that shaping his foreign policy decisions and performance? That is something that is going to require extraordinary scrutiny for the rest of his time in office. And also the loan, the money that he owes, and the fact that it's coming due, many of them, before what would be the end of his second term, were he to be reelected. That is another matter that is going to require extraordinary diligence to see who does, in fact, he owe that money. And again, whether foreign or domestic, how does that impact his day-to-day operations in the White House? And then politically, Joe, going back to how we opened this conversation, this changes the idea and how he's perceived among Americans, potentially even some of his supporters. You're right. Some won't care. Some will say we're with the president. Some will believe his explanation. Some will say that, no, this, of course, is, quote, fake news. Some will say, look, he outsmarted the government. He didn't pay taxes. That's my guy. But I think for a lot of others, including those working class voters that he is struggling with, that he needs desperately, in states like Pennsylvania, this is going to hit home and hit home hard and could cost him support at the worst possible time. 2 days before the first general election debate and barely a month out until Election Day, with some voters voting already in early